Never in my wildest dreams did I think when I told Gary something bad is going to happen, did I think it was going to be this?
I can't imagine what Gary must have been going through and how he must have felt being so alone and so far out there.
He said that the longer he stood and looked at it, the more spooked that he got, the feeling of dread, the sixth sense that he needed to get out of there.
911, what is the address of your emergency?
I'm not sure. I'm at my brother's house. It's 20 Pine Street in Ruth.
And what is your emergency?
My brother, he's missing.
How long has he been missing?
I don't know. He went on a hike and he was supposed to be back 2 days ago. About a week or so, I think.
Mm-hmm. What is his name?
Gary Hinge.
His age?
31, no, 32. He's 32.
Do you know where he was hiking?
I don't. I'm trying to figure that out right now.
Okay. Someone is on their way to you to take a report now.
I first knew something was wrong when I was on the phone with my publisher and Simon kept trying to call in. And so once I was off the phone with my publisher, I called Simon, who's Gary's roommate. And he had told me that Gary was 2 days late. That's not Gary. You know, Gary would never leave Tuca that long, no, especially knowing that Simon had to go out of town. That's when I knew that there was something wrong and I needed to get there. So I packed up and left Panaca and headed straight to Ruth. I needed to see what was going on and make sure that my brother was okay and to take care of Tuca until he could get back. I really thought he would be back.
I first met Gary when they were having an event at the Nevada Northern Railway. And we both just kind of walked in each other's paths, started talking about trains. And, we were both looking for a place to stay. I was trying to find a place for work. He was in between places. And we kind of just happened upon this place.
The first time I heard the name Gary Hinge, I believe, was when I was working for the radio station NNN. It was I was an investigative reporter. It was my first job right out of the gate. And my producer came to me and he was like, we have to cover this. I think it's a good idea for us to do this because the TV stations, the news had stopped reporting on it. And so this was a way for us to get exclusives and to keep the story going because according to everyone else that was hearing about it and reporting about it, it had just gone cold.
If you want me to describe my brother Gary, the best way to describe him is if there was a little old lady that said, can you please watch my purse? No matter where they were at, Gary would sit there and he would watch her purse and make sure that it was safe until she came back. That was just the type of person that he was. He was trustworthy and amazing.
So Gary loved the outdoors. I mean, he was the king of outdoors, let's just say that. And I think a lot of people were really envious of him. Like he lived this beautiful, adventurous life that I think, those who have the 9-to-5 job, stuck behind a desk, I think really, really admired that about him?
Super smart, but definitely private. He kind of just kept to himself. If he wasn't in his room on his computer, then he was working on his model railroad. But other than that, yeah, just really kept to himself in his room making his videos. Super funny though. Definitely could make you laugh with a couple of his one-liners.
I started to learn more about who Gary was, and I found out that he was an extremely highly intelligent man. He's one of those people that was so smart that kind of had a hard time connecting with other people. So he mostly just kind of was more, solitude, and fascinating. The more I found out about him, the more I wanted to keep finding out about who is Gary. Gary had found his dream job. Being such an avid outdoorsman, he started to work for a startup company called Map Nevada. Now, what they do is they map out really remote locations for hunters. So they track wildlife, weather, terrain, and Gary was in heaven doing this.
He loved to be by himself out in the wilderness. He loved hiking and being adventurous. Any train he was drawn to. He loved trains.
Hey guys, filming another little YouTube video at one of my favorite places. If I had more time, I would become one of the volunteers. But this is the Nevada Northern Railway Museum here in Ely, and it's kind of an old little copper mine just preserved and left. They do some cool stuff though, like you can sleep in this old caboose from Kennecott, the big copper mine in the area, right outside my home in Ruth. It's kind of a neat little railroad museum. They just kind of let you walk around. And you know how much I love trains on top of hiking. Gotta do something in the winter time when you can't be outside as much.
So I was really excited to take on this story, seeing that it was my first story. And it also took place in this tiny little town called Ruth. And so I grabbed a phone book and I just started calling. And I wanted to talk to anybody and everybody that would talk to me.
I first knew something was off when he asked me to watch his dog Tuca before he went out on one of his trips. And he never leaves Tuca. He always takes the dog with him, so I thought that was kind of weird. And he was acting super stressed out, even keeping himself even more. When he didn't come back after 2 days, I thought that was really strange. I had a flight to catch, so I just called Beverly to get the dog.
After I got off the phone with Simon, I tried Gary, and there was no answer. So I hurried and left, and I went to Ruth from Panaca, and it's only a couple hours away. So when I got there, Simon and Tuca were waiting on the front steps. Simon really needed to get to the airport in Las Vegas, so I asked him where Gary had gone to, and Simon didn't know. His roommate didn't even know. He just knew that he was on an expedition. To me, that wasn't right. So I tried Gary a couple of more times, and all it did was go to voicemail, and something was definitely wrong. And so I called the police and waited.
So I got Beverly's phone number, and this is the only time that I ever talked to her. And she was pretty angry with me once I told her that I was a reporter. And she did not want to have anything to do with me or our show, which I thought was really unfortunate because the news stations, they had stopped reporting on this, and we were the only ones doing anything. And I thought, this is a way to help find your brother. I don't understand why you don't want to give me the time or day, but she didn't. And she quickly hung up. And that was the only time that I spoke to Beverly.
Gary became so obsessed with survivalism. He would watch the Discovery Channel. He would watch YouTube. He would study it and find the most remote places, no cell service, no provisions of any kind other than what he took. And it used to scare the heavens out of me. I mean, I was petrified for him, and I would worry so much. But after a while, it was Gary.
So guys, I'm here hiking around, and this is one of the cool secrets I have in the wilds of Nevada, is this cemetery from the late 1800s, old mining camp, but I won't disclose the name for safety reasons. Don't want anyone getting lost out here, but you can see all these old graves, wood stones unmarked, graves with no names now. Give you an idea of where I had to hike from is that mountain way over there is my truck's on the other side of it. So hiked over that mountain, and I'm way out this way now, hiking around.
I wouldn't say what Gary was doing was hiking. These were multiple day survival excursions.
In the beginning, what gave me hope was the fact that when Gary was much younger, like second grade, we all went camping, and Gary disappeared from the campsite. And we searched for him, and we were also worried. Mom and Dad were just terrified. I was terrified. We didn't want to leave the mountain to go and get cell service or anything. We just went looking for him, and we looked for him all night. And the next morning, we came up to a sheep herder's camp, thinking, we're going to tell him, look, keep an eye out for the second grader that was missing. And we walk up, and there is my little brother, Gary, playing with the animals. He'd known that if he got to the sheep herder's camp, he would be okay, that Mom and Dad would come and look for him. And he was so resilient. It was in him, it's second nature.
So after speaking to a bunch of people in Ruth, I started to learn a little bit more about Beverly and Beverly's relationship with Gary in the past. So she had a lot of anger towards Gary. She really blamed him for their parents' death. And then when their parents did pass away, she was stuck still raising Gary. And so she held quite a lot of resentment against him.
Well, I was mad at Gary when Mom and Dad died. They were out on a fishing trip, and Mom and Dad liked to do some night fishing. And so they went out, and they'd hung the lantern where they could see it so they could get back to shore safely, back to camp without hitting any rocks. Well, Gary decided that he was going to go hunting frogs and everything, and he went exploring. And while he was out there, he hung the lantern up so that he could see what he was doing. Meanwhile, Mom and Dad decided that they were going to come back in and call it a night, so they headed for the lantern, not knowing that Gary had moved it while he was exploring, and so they followed the light. And it was the wrong spot. They didn't make it back because they hit the rocks, and had Gary not hung the lantern up where he was at and left it where it needed to be, there wouldn't have been any problems.
I just felt super bad for Beverly. I could just hear her inside Gary's room, sobbing.
You're really making me miss my brother, Gary.
I kept hearing people refer to Gary as a hiker. And in my opinion, I don't really think that's correct, because to me, Gary's more of a survivalist. He would go out into the wilderness for, a week or two on end with just a backpack. He's kind of like the MacGyver of the wilderness, just to survive and live off of the land and, filter his own water. So to hear him just be like, oh, he's just a hiker gone missing, he's not.
When Gary and I first started living together, I actually went out with him on one of these things. And I just kept telling myself the entire time, never again. Gary wouldn't let us bring enough food or water, and it was the most miserable experience. The one thing I did like about it was we kept on finding these 1800s abandoned mining kind of structures, which was super cool.
This wasn't a normal search and rescue because, Gary didn't tell anybody where he was going on his excursion, and he would go really deep into the wilderness and he'd be gone for a week or so. So no one had any idea where to even start looking. And so police decided the best way, or the only thing they could think of, was to maybe check his cell phone and his cell phone pings and watch tower. And it looked to be as he had turned his cell phone off shortly after leaving his home.
When Beverly showed up to get the dog, I regret that now. I kind of lashed out at her.
I was so put off when I got to town, and he was so antsy to get out of there. And, being my brother's roommate, not even asking where he was going to be or, if there was going to, any issue that might set up a red flag if he didn't come home. He had his dog and everything, and he knew he needed to be out of town. I didn't feel right about it. It just didn't feel right. And, a week or so before that, Gary had confided in me that him and Simon weren't getting along very well. And so he wanted to move out. And so it just didn't feel right. So I let the cops know. I just don't trust him. There's just something to not be concerned at all where your roommate's going to be, and, more worried about getting on a plane than somebody missing that's supposed to be your friend close to you. No.
We never talked about that. He never told me where he went hiking, ever. He never mentioned it. And even if we did talk about it, I'm pretty sure he probably wouldn't have told me. So, but at the beginning, I understood, she needed someone to point the finger at, and she was super upset, understandably. But after some time, it just kind of got old. So I called her and I, told her that there's no way I would have known, and just, by the way, you're his sister, so why didn't you know?
When I first reported Gary missing, the police were wonderful. They were really on top of it. They did an APB, be on the lookout for his truck, himself, park rangers, fish and game, everything. We live in a small town. People don't go missing all the time. And so this was a big deal, and they really took it seriously. They had it everywhere. I was embarrassed that I didn't know exactly where he was at. I'm his sister. I should have known. I should have known.
My first thought when I heard he was missing was, it'd be near impossible to find him. Either he finally just injured himself, or maybe he had eaten something that he didn't know was going to make him so sick.
It had been 2 days since I'd reported him missing, and I hadn't slept more than 10 to 15 minutes at a time. I had people calling and were so concerned and wanted to know where to start looking for him. But not knowing where he was at, where would I have them look? And then the phone call came. They'd found Gary's truck. Such a sinking feeling, such a sick to my stomach feeling that this was now very real. After the cops called and let me know that they'd found his truck, they came and picked me up and took me to it. It was about 55 miles out of town. And we got there and seeing his truck, I was so hopeful, thinking he probably fell, maybe broke an ankle, stuck in a ravine, can't get himself out. But I had hope, I really had hope that we were going to find him okay.
It just wasn't in a place where Gary would have left it, like it wasn't in a spot where he would want to go to explore.
While I was sitting there watching him process Gary's truck, I was looking around. This wasn't Gary. He loved to explore vast forests, rocky hills, beauty, not just a rolling hill of dirt. Something wasn't right.
I'm a private investigator. I was hired by Beverly shortly after Gary's truck was found. The high desert, as you can see, it's very beautiful. It's very majestic, has mountains, valleys, plains, forests. It has it all, but it's also quite dangerous and very unforgiving.
So after Gary's truck was found, a search began and people really rallied.
Gary went missing in the hottest part of the summer. And what we see most of the time in disappearance like his is people suffering from heat stroke, dehydration, sometimes even injury.
People started showing up, and then more people started showing up, and next thing I know, it's a whole whirlwind. There were people there that I didn't know, that Gary didn't know. There were people bringing drones, all kinds of search and rescue. It was the most humbling experience to know that these strangers were out there helping to try to find my brother and bring him home.
So once Gary's truck was found, Beverly was let's just say she was very vocal about how the truck seemed to be parked in a suspicious location. Like, she was just convinced that her brother had not parked it there. Her brother wouldn't park it there, and she would not stop talking about it. So the cops eventually looked into this.
The clock was ticking. They very much needed to find Gary as soon as possible. Beverly, on the other hand, was very much in their way. She was in the way, and she was really messing things up.
Searching the high desert isn't easy. I mean, it's not an easy task. People think it is. People think you can just get up in the air in a helicopter and fly around and look at the ground and, see someone. But once you're on the ground, there's abandoned mines, there's bushes and tree cover, and it's super difficult. So finding someone it's not easy as people think it is.
Oh my God, sheep. Hi, sheep. Look at all the sheep. Sheep are a lot nicer than people. Hey, little sheeps. Look at all you guys. Roaming the land. Doing what you need to do. Geez, they all ran away from me. Can't even make friends with sheep.
The officers didn't want me to participate in the search. They thought it was best that I stay home at Gary's place in case he tried to contact me, call, or show up.
I was very much familiar with the lead investigator. We had worked together before, and we were definitely familiar with each other. I called him to kind of check up on things and see where the investigation was headed and if they had any new information. He told me that they had made a discovery in the truck. But since I was not formally hired by Beverly, I had to contact her first before they would discuss the matter with me.
I was hopeful that they had good news. But the officer asked me if Gary had any enemies or if I knew anybody that may want to hurt him. I asked the officer why. Why would he ask that? And in confidence, they told me that they had evidence that Gary did not drive his truck out there.
So I waited a couple of hours and went over to Gary's house where Beverly was staying, and she was absolutely hysterical. She told me that the police had informed her that in Gary's truck, they had discovered prints on top of Gary's all over, on top of the steering wheel, the dashboard, the gear, and what was most surprising or alarming was that they discovered footprints, bare footprints, and they were scarred and unidentifiable, which even added more to the mystery.
The footprint was there. There was. They said he said that it was barefoot.
So someone drove Gary's truck barefoot. And it just doesn't sit well with me because it's like, what happened? Why was this person not wearing shoes? What was going on? Like, it's just odd, and it's very, I don't know. it's just, it made my skin crawl.
Oh, look at the little baby deer. That's kind of cool to see. You don't see that too often.
I hadn't been sleeping and everything, and my mind was just reeling. I had a lot of things going through my head, different scenarios. Maybe he picked up a friend. Maybe somebody stole his truck while he was out hiking. Or maybe he picked up a hitchhiker and the hitchhiker had done something to him. I don't know, at this point, so many things were just going through my head, just over and over again, which didn't help me try to get any sleep.
So Beverly still wanted me to vet out Simon because she still thought he was very suspicious. And I did too. I looked into him again, and lo and behold, he was ruled out as a suspect. But through that process, I actually learned that Gary had been talking to someone that he met on a Facebook Messenger group. They had been corresponding with each other through a local sellers group. And I guess they had been commenting on each other's posts, and one thing led to another, and they became more than friends. When I confronted this person, he was very much terrified. Didn't want to talk to me, didn't want to have anything to do with me or the investigation. And I told him, if you don't talk to me, you're going to have to talk to the cops, and they're going to really bust your ass. And I think he was terrified of being outed in his community because it's such a small town. Not a lot of gay people. And so he did talk to me. He told me that he didn't have anything to do with Gary's disappearance. He was sad and upset that Gary had disappeared. He didn't know what happened to him. I guess I did believe him. He really didn't want to discuss it, but ultimately when I did check out his alibi, he was cleared as a suspect.
Hey guys, now that I'm done chasing sheep around like a crazy person in the mountains, I've seen a lot out here: mining camps, mines, abandoned towns, buildings, remnants of the past. But the coolest and my favorite personally is all the Native American remnants. I love finding arrowheads and seeing petroglyphs on mountainsides, just old writing from the native people who lived here long before any settlers moved in. To me, that's the coolest stuff to see. But it's getting dark now, the sun's setting. I think I'm going to call it a night and get settled in my camp.
They were still processing the crime scene and everything, and they came across an envelope in his center console. It had his rent money in it. To me, that said that whoever he was with wasn't there to take his money or anything that he might have had. I woke to the police officers knocking on my door, and they were informing me that they called off the search. And while they're explaining things to me, I'm seeing them talk, and I'm not I'm not comprehending anything. Everything was just kind of flashing, and I'm seeing their faces and I'm seeing their lips move, and then they're looking at me like I'm crazy. And next thing I know, I'm on a stretcher. And taken to the ER where they had to give me hydration, an IV with fluids and medicine that helped me sleep. And for the first time since all of this started, I got 10 hours of sleep.
This was the largest search and rescue that Nevada had ever seen. And when they finally called it off, everyone was just so shocked. But you can't search the entire state of Nevada. It's just too vast. It's too broad. And it had been so long that the chances of finding him and finding him alive were slim to none.
The investigation was dead in the water. We didn't have any leads. The fingerprints in the truck didn't match any database, so we didn't know what to do. But then Gary's followers started calling. And this whole thing was turned on its head.
So I'm at my desk and I'm going through the show notes. I'm getting ready to go on air, and my producer comes through my door and he's like, "You have a phone call. You have to take this phone call." And I get on the phone and it's one of our listeners. And he's telling me that I have to look into Gary's blog. He's going on and on about this crazy story about Gary, and he's telling me that he thinks he knows where he is. He thinks he knows what happened to him, and that I have to go and look at this blog right now.
My friend Monica calls me and tells me that it's all over the news that all these people are calling into the radio station, and she tells me that they're talking about Gary's blog and the fact that it needs to be read and that there's comments and everything. And so once I got discharged, I went straight to Gary's house so I could read the blog and see what all this was that they were talking about.
Unfortunately, Beverly found out about Gary's blog hours before we did, and she went right over there and really messed things up.
Hey guys, it's me again. A lot of people have been following the blog and new to the blog and been saying I'm just trying to copy Naked and Afraid. And as you can tell, I'm not naked or afraid out here. So I'm not trying to copy the show. And also my ex loved the show, so I'm sick of it. It's the reason why people are called exes.
So while I'm trying to navigate through everything on his blog, going through the operator stuff and everything, and I finally get in there and I realize he has 50,000 viewers. I was shocked.
Not a single person in Gary's life knew about his blog, which was really shocking considering the fact that he had 50,000 followers. That really says something if you think about it.
Of course, I immediately jump on my computer and I go to his blog, and I'll never forget the title because I actually thought it was really clever. It was called "Don't Hike with Headphones."
Hey guys, up here at the top of the mountain, as you can see, the great view behind me. One of the questions I get asked on the blog a lot was, what dangers are there out here? Are there any threatening animals like rattlesnakes and mountain lions? And yeah, there are rattlesnakes at the lower elevations. You might have noticed I don't hike with headphones or anything on, so I can listen for them.
And it's your basic, survivalist type blog, how to build a fire, how to filter water. And I just start scrolling through, and I scroll all the way to the latest videos that he had posted.
I'm trying to navigate to find out where these notifications are coming from, because he is getting notification after notification. I mean, it's ding, 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 ding.
So I was driving when I found out Gary had a blog. I pulled over and looked for it on my phone. And the first thing that I noticed was that he didn't go by his real name. He went by Scorpion Sam.
My biggest thing I've ever ran into was I got stung by a scorpion kicking over a rock once. Had to go to the hospital once I got back to my truck. That was a day hike with a swelling up hand.
I'm finally able to get to the notifications, and this notification pops up, and they're saying, I bet he found it. And that something bad happened. And I'm thinking, they're saying he found it and something bad happened. Found what?
And then came Gary's now infamous video post. I have worked a lot of strange cases in my career, and Gary's by far was the most unusual. Just the way that he described what he was looking at, what he saw, how terrified he was, it just really scares me.
So I start watching the second to last video on Gary's blog, and he's at his home and he's sitting there and he's telling his viewers basically what he came across on his last expedition.
I saw his last 3 videos, and what I saw changed everything.
He's pretty worked up in this video. You can tell he's nervous, he's scared.
As soon as his video started, I could tell he was troubled by something. Something had him so unnerved. He was 3 days into his expedition, and he started to smell smoke and that. And he was out in the middle of nowhere, so he got curious and started to look around.
He comes across this cabin, and it's not, like a nice cabin. It's like a makeshift cabin, almost kind of like a homeless type of structure, sticks and twigs, and there's smoke coming out of the chimney. And, Gary's not someone to be scared of someone else, out in the wilderness, but he said he was just like frozen in his tracks, and he just felt this like sixth sense of basically impending doom.
It was the look on his face that really got to me when he described this cabin out in Nevada.
He said that the longer he stood and looked at it, the more spooked that he got, the feeling of dread, the sixth sense that he needed to get out of there.
Like he wanted nothing to do with that place. And so, he hightails it out of there, and he goes to sleep in his tent. I remember this because he talks about how he was so scared he slept with his shoes on all night. He didn't bring his firearms, so he was totally just vulnerable out there and terrified. And he wakes up the next morning, and there's footprints, and they're barefoot footprints.
These two things are now connected. We had something to go on.
The hike back to his truck, which took 3 days, he felt like somebody was following him.
So this was a really sad story to me, to see Gary's followers turn on him. That blog was everything to him. He really admired them and their comments. It was something really special to him. And to see them go from loving him to bullying him, calling him a loser, a liar, and putting him down, it was really sad to see.
And the comments are like, everyone's kind of just like, well, go back, you know, take video, show us this place. Is this place even exist? Is this even real? And he's getting like really hit by his followers. Basically, they're kind of bullying him. They don't believe that he came across this, you know, they go to his blog for a reason, and now they feel like he's just, you know, getting into ghost stories or something. And so I really feel like he fell into a bit of cyberbullying, in the fact that they were not going to be, you know, his faithful followers anymore unless he goes back and proves that he saw this, he experienced this.
You know, it broke my heart to read the comments that said that he was nothing but a lonely loser, and that all he was doing was trying to get attention by making shit up, and that they didn't believe him.
I actually didn't know about the blog, but I knew he was doing something, because he was always in the backyard, making videos, telling the camera how to make a campfire. Or I always heard him in his room, like giving survival tips and things.
Hey guys, just walking through the woods here. It's a beautiful day in the backwoods in Nevada. But a lot of people ask what I would do if I got lost back here. I had to spend several more days than I planned on. I guess first thing I would do would be find a nice nutritious cow patty, because they're so yummy. I'm just kidding. You don't want to eat cow shit. That would be bad. But there are ways you can scavenger for food out here.
I was so upset by everything, and I wanted to download this and do what I could so that I could take it to the cops. And during all the frustration and the upset and everything, I accidentally deleted it.
Beverly really beat herself up about deleting the video, and I felt bad for her. I didn't want to press it because I knew she felt terrible. Her brother was missing, but it was a missed opportunity, definitely, and a definite disappointment.
The last video of Gary on that blog is him basically telling his followers, okay, here I go. I'll go back. And he doesn't look okay about it.
Gary's final video is truly haunting, and it is really the beginning of a bigger mystery.
Gary's last video that he posted to his blog said that he was going to go back out and record everything and prove to everyone that this was real, that this really existed. It's the last time that he ever posted anything or anybody heard from him.
Hey guys, I'm back. wanted to make a video about the different comments people left on my last video. A lot of you were coming up with some crazy theories on what was out there, what I saw in the woods. Some of you don't believe it. Some of you are asking for the location and want to find it yourself. I'm really against people going out in the backwoods in Nevada without experience. There's a lot of dangers out there, from old mines to just random people, and you can get lost easily. The scenery looks a lot of the same, and if there's no trails, you can get lost and turn around and be out there for days. And if you don't bring enough food or water, you're in real danger. So I don't want to give out the location and just be the one that causes a whole bunch of people to go out in the backwoods in Nevada. I'll go out there, find the shelter again. This time I'll bring my camera and firearm. I have to do some work first, but I plan on leaving on the 22nd, and I'll need a good 6 days to be out there again. It's a good 3 days in and 3 days back, but we're gonna find out what this is, and look forward to another video once we finally get out there. I'll have something for you guys posted.
He goes, and that's it. And that's the last video of Gary. And no one knows where he was going. So the search is so vast, and Nevada's huge, and he could be anywhere. This place that he talks about could be anywhere.
This became a perfect storm because now we knew what Gary was doing. We just had no idea where.
I had no idea that he had this whole other life, this blog, all these followers and everything. Had I known that, I would have never, ever let him go back out there.
This whole case turned from a missing persons to a huge mystery. Whose cabin was this? I mean, who lives out there? Where is this cabin? I mean, if it's in the middle of nowhere, what type of person lives in the middle of nowhere? And if you're about to go find that person, I don't know if they're going to be too happy to be found. I mean, if they're out there that far, they're out there that far for a reason.
Once the radio station broadcast about it, his blog and everything, everybody just went crazy before the cops could even take it down. The conspiracy theories were just everywhere, from witches to aliens, Area 51, you name it.
People started coming out of the woodwork, and everyone had a theory as to who the cabin belonged to, what was in the cabin. There were some comments about Gary had discovered a witch, and she was making secret potions, and somehow he had gotten involved. And I mean, it was crazy. Other people thought it was just a hermit, someone who just wanted to be left alone. People thought that maybe it was a government, secret government operation. Aliens. I mean, I could go on and on about the many theories that people thought.
The only reasonable explanation I could come up with was maybe Gary had stumbled upon an illegal marijuana growing operation out there in the middle of nowhere, Nevada, and they killed him for it. It has happened before, but I was wrong.
I just couldn't shake this sickening feeling. Before I knew it, the cops showed up and they had known all about his blog, and I was actually on the computer when they got there, and they gathered everything up, seized everything, including his hard drives.
Guys, little model train video here. I just got back from a flea market, and look what I picked up today. Got a nice little HO diesel locomotive, lettered for one of my favorite railroads called the California Western, out of Northern California. Set that down. Then got this brand new steam engine for the Santa Fe.
My private investigator called and said that the detectives on the case wanted to meet with me. So I ended up going down to the precinct, and they kept asking me, is there anything you need? Have you eaten today? Or, just beating around the bush. And I finally asked him, what is going on?
Back on! We are back with a break in the case of missing hiker Gary Hinge. Was made yesterday when his backpack was discovered by a couple camping in White Pine County. When they woke up in the morning, they found the backpack had been intentionally placed in their campsite. What they found inside has sent a shockwave through the state of Nevada. Hinge's truck was found parked in Eureka earlier this month, but police now say they have evidence that it was parked there to throw off investigators searching for him.
They woke up to find Gary's backpack draped on a shovel that they had there. And when they opened it, Gary's belongings were in there. As well as a severed hand. Gary's hand.
The way that his hand was severed was incredibly violent. The way that it was chopped off was just gruesome.
It was deliberately placed there because someone wanted it to be found.
The forensics showed that his hand had been severed for more than 5 weeks.
And it was still clutching a video camera. And what's even more crazy was the hand wasn't like torn off from a body. It was a clean cut.
I was gutted by the fact that he had suffered.
Once the camera was discovered, everybody wanted to know, is there a tape? And does the tape work? And what's on the tape?
We were very anxious for the crime lab to process the evidence. And sure enough, when they did, the memory chip was still in the camera. It was truly terrifying to watch, and I can't even imagine the true horror that he faced out there.
Bill calls me, and the forensic investigators have video of Gary's final moments, and so they take us into a room.
The team thought it would be best if I sat down with Beverly and watched the videos with her, because I had a relationship with her, and I had a kind of a special rapport. So they thought it would probably be best if maybe I sat down with her first.
Bill started the first video, and there was Gary shining his light around, saying hello. And the innocence in his voice, I couldn't do it. I had to stop. And then Bill finished watching.
The clips begin like all the other clips. Gary's even smiling, but he has no idea what's about to happen.
Hey guys, a little video update. There's thunder. Storm's coming in, I gotta make this quick. Got a whole nother ridge line to climb before I get to the spot where I saw that shelter, but I'm about halfway there, a day and a half in. We'll see what we find. Climbed over one mountain range already, got one more to go. And better make it quick because that storm's coming in fast. We'll see what's on the other side. I got a ways to go, but the weird thing is I'm already distinctly smelling the smoke like I smelled last time. There's no fires around. There shouldn't be anyone out here. But it's very faint, but very distinct smell of smoke. Kind of getting creeped out, but not as much as I was last time yet. We'll see what happens. Look for another video update soon. Alright guys, getting closer. There's a marker I left as I came back in the daytime. That way I can tell where I was in the dark. Alright, here's the final marker. Wow. Hey guys, I'm here. You can see the chimney, you can see the cabin, you can see everything else I described in previous videos.
From what you do see from the person in the video, you could tell that they have a lot of physical deformities. And it's probably one of the main reasons why they chose to live where they lived. You know, they felt shunned by society.
When we found out what actually happened, it was like this weight had been taken off of Beverly and I's relationship. And now we're actually really close, and I actually consider her kind of a big sister.
Just hiking along, almost to the top, over that mountainside. Still some thunder in the distance. Amazing how far you can hike and only seeing a couple of deer. Not much wildlife that I've seen. I'm sure they see me. Stay hidden. But just a lot of sagebrush and trees and peaceful desert. The great thing about Nevada. Wide open spaces.
Everybody immediately wants to go and search for the one thing that they've been told not to go search for. And so now there's this whole band of influencers who are out there wanting to find this person and post about it and blog about it and make a video about it. And to me, that's terrifying.